Okay, well, why don't we get started, everyone? Thank you for joining us. The session today is an introduction to PipeLink. My name is Norman Eldridge. Today we'll have a couple of other people joining me with this demonstration and questions and answers for PipeLink. That'll be Zoe Fife and Jason Patterson. The agenda is basically a format similar to other sessions that we've done for this technical webinar series. I'll provide a brief introduction about the product just to set the stage, introduce it if you're not familiar, and then we'll actually have a demonstration. During these sessions, questions and answers will be offered. Please submit your question using the questions and chat pane available in the GoToMeeting. We will be monitoring the queue as we go along. Please try to stay on topic with what's currently on the screen. If we get behind, if your question is a bit off topic, you could save it for the end. We will pause near the end for additional questions and answers. Plus, you can submit questions afterwards to the Ogden Marine Forum or on our Nexus user account if you have one, if you're a subscriber to ShipConstructor. As I said, my name's Norman Eldridge. I'm Senior Product Manager. Zoe will be providing a demonstration as a Technical Product Manager. And Jason Patterson's available for questions as well. He's one of our most senior lead software developers. So let's get started. Just to set the stage, the shipbuilding has a lot of different information needs related to pipe. For example, high-level design, things like P&ID diagrams, the systems and branches, detailed piping modeling, your parts and fittings, routing decisions, purchase reports, center of gravity, pipe analysis such as thermal loads, pressure loads, wave loads, and the production information, of course, your isometric drawings, your bending tables, cut lists, and dimensions. And PipeLink is intended to particularly address the pipe analysis and production information, although the other aspects are related. So what is ShipConstructor PipeLink specifically? It allows exporting the piping information from the ShipConstructor 3D model, the piping component file output from the model and drawings. So what the heck is a piping component file? That's what PCF stands for. It's a de facto standard format that is widely accepted in the industry, widely used. PCFs are text files containing the component and routing information. They're actually human readable. If you open up the file, you can read it, but you need to understand what it says. It's all code. For each component, they will include various mandatory records to find the basic information, such as the flange, the type of pipe, the flange, pipe, or valve, for example, coordinates and size of the end points, and the S keys. The PCFs are created by the piping design system, extracting information from the piping model, so it actually analyzes the network and outputs that information. It comes directly from the ShipConstructor 3D model using information that's already in the system. So once you're doing your modeling, you can run PipeLink very easily, and we'll see that demonstrated. A single PCF, single piping component file, can contain the data for a number of pipelines, but generally a piping design system extracts piping data for single pipelines only. That's just how people use it. So basically, PCF files are consumable by various software. Caesar, Isogen, AutoCAD, Plant 3D, K-Pipe. We'll see some examples of using the PCF file here today, taking that output from ShipConstructor. Probably the most common thing is piping output to Isogen, widely used in the industry again. PCF file format to be processed by third-party applications. Isogen is the most popular for integration into isometrics, pipe bending machine automation, and enterprise-wide pipe software integration tends to be where these most commonly used. Just some of the scenarios that we see our clients using PCF. Of course, for Isogen, as I just mentioned, offshore and shipyards, pipe stress analysis, various softwares. K-Pipe's one of the most commonly used. Pipe bending machines, again, for offshore and shipyards. Some contracted pipe fabrication, you want to provide them with the information, just the information they require, and of course CAD conversion, various outputs. So when we designed our PipeLink product to output PCF, there were a number of key considerations. Core to that is on-demand generation from the model for one-off or task-based workflows. Generations from within output drawings. So standard piping components and end treatments have predefined PCF codes in the pipes.catalog. We'll show you a little bit about that. This is all associatively linked with the production drawing and therefore to the 3D model. So it's fully integrated into the marine information model. The ShipConstructor is built on top of multiple options for generating PCF files and splitting piping systems into segments. So we've tried to offer a number of options right out of the gate. We certainly are interested in, when people are using this product, to provide us more input on restrictions or flexibilities they'd like to see. This is and at this point I'd like to hand it off to Zoe, and just take me a moment, and we'll see a demonstration of this product. So there you go, Zoe. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Unmuted. Thank you, Norman. Hello, everyone. My name is Zoe Fife, and I'm a technical product manager here at SSI. And I'm going to take you on a walkthrough through the PipeLink product. In order to do this, we need an output drawing. So I've chosen one that comes from the bilge and ballast section of our training project. So here you go. It's right here. And the PipeLink product, it falls inside the production part of the ribbon on the PipeLink tab right here, the PipeLink panel. We're going to look at the manager command, the generate command, and the export command in that order. Clicking on the manager command will open up the PipeLink manager window. On the left-hand side, you can see all the parts that are currently inside the output drawing. And right now, they're in one grouping. That's because over here on the right, you can see that there's no break in the grouping that's in this drawing. It's possible to break them into a number of different ways based on whether it's a system, a branch, spool breaking, or if there's a piece of equipment that's interrupting the branch as we see it. In this case, because of the branch that we chose, the system is the same, the branch is the same, and there are no pieces of equipment interrupting. So if, say, I were to choose equipment component as the break and apply that break, you once again see a single grouping. So to make this more interesting, we're going to go based on a spool break, and you can see here that there's going to be 15 groupings, as also demonstrated by the spool breaks that you can see inside the drawing. It's also possible here, if you look down in the view area, to highlight the different areas so you can see what the groupings are, or you can use centering as another example. And then we also offer the options of how you want to output this information. Will it be in a single file, or will it be on a file per break? In this case, we're going to do a file per break, so we will expect to get 15 files when we output this information. Hitting OK here will only save the information inside of our database for the PipeLink Manager. It's only when you hit Generate or Export that will actually create PCF files. So now inside the Generate, when I click Generate, it opens up the PipeLink Manager again. And as you can see, all the information that we had previously set is still present. One additional fact that I just want to point out here is by double-clicking on any of these rows, you can actually change the default name if you wanted to do that. In this case, I'm just going to leave them as they are. Hitting OK will have ShipConstructor create these files, and you can see the log appearing. They've automatically stored the files inside of the project underneath the bilge and ballast, and here is each of the files that have been created. You can also create files using the export command, and I'll explain a little bit of difference between the generate and export in a moment. When you hit the export command, it asks you to do 2 steps first before opening up the PipeLink Manager. First of all, it's asking you to select the objects you want to export. So in this case, you actually are making these decisions. It's not just going to be the entire, everything that's inside the drawing that you can see. I selected some items, hit enter, and now I previously created a folder, export files, and that's where I want it to go. And here you can see the PipeLink Manager appear. It only has these 3 groupings now. I'm going to leave them as spool breaks and create a single file for each. Hitting OK will now produce these 3 PCF files in the location where I requested. Now the difference here between the export command and the generate command is that if you generate PCF files, if you create those PCF files using the generate command, they are, for all intents and purposes, an extension of the output drawing. So if you go into the model drawing and you were to make changes to this branch, add, remove parts, change stock, whatever it is that you might do, and then you were to go back into this output drawing and run the update command, it will automatically update the PCF file. So in this case, the PCF file will always show what is going on in that output drawing. It'll reflect exactly what's in the output drawing. However, when you run the export command, it does not do that. It doesn't do an automatic update. The information, the names of the files, the locations of those files are not stored in the database the same way as when you run the generate command. So those are for more of a one-time situation. You want to get this information out, you want to supply it to somebody as a one-time set of documents, then you'd use the export command rather than the generate command. And so now that we've actually created some PCF files, Norman mentioned earlier on that we would do a bit of a demonstration on how you could make an isometric file. We also have today Plant 3D in front of us. I've got it open right here. And under the ISOs tab, there is a PCF to ISO command. Now this is obviously separate from ShipConstructor. I just want to show that besides it being quite easy and straightforward to making the PCF files, you can then take those PCF files and immediately go into creating the isometric drawings. Earlier on, I created a PCF file of the entire system. So it would make a more interesting isometric drawing. So that's what I've selected here. So rather than it being an individual spool break, this PCF is that entire output drawing. And I'm just going to do a couple settings so that we get as few ISO files as possible as per what Plant 3D makes a decision of. Overwrite any existings, and I'm going to hit that create button. Now you can see down at the bottom in the command line that it's actually creating the ISOs now. This will take a moment, and while this is chugging away and making the ISO files, I'm going to take you back now to ShipConstructor for a moment. For those of you who aren't as familiar about the S keys and how they relate to the different parts and in creating the PCF files, I want to show you now how we set this information and how you as a user can set it. Inside of Manager, under the piping, there is this section called PipeLink Stock Types. Clicking on this, you'll see the default settings that we have built into ShipConstructor for the different types. These come from the ISO standards, so these are preset, these weren't decided by us. And you can see here as an example, for instance, the T. Its S key is TE with 2 stars. Those 2 stars are going to be representative of the end treatment. So whenever that T is placed in the model drawing and that end treatment is set, then those 2 stars will be filled in by the end treatment value. These default settings exist and will be pre-populated when you create a new stock. However, you don't have to keep those. You can also, when you're inside your stock catalog, your piping stock catalog, you could, for instance, choose to edit a specific stock. In this case, it's a ball valve. And down here at the bottom, you can see that there are the component type and the S key. So I could actually go in here and choose a different S key if I wanted to. What's also an advantage in this case is that if you have an equipment in your library that is you actually having it be representative of a valve, for instance, even though that equipment part may not show up in a spool drawing, if you set its S key values when in its stock, then it will show up in the PCF file and thus in the isometric drawing. So going back now to Plant 3D, we can see that the isometric creation is complete. We'll click on it. There are no errors. And now let's open up one of them. Zoom to extents. And there is a very pretty isometric drawing that came from the PCF file that was created. You can see here you've got your branch, you've got your bill of materials, and the information's there. And then if we zoom in, we can see more information about the actual labeling and the dimensioning. And this refers again back to our output drawing. Any questions? Anything anyone would like me to go over a second time? All right, well, thank you very much for your attention, and I'm now going to pass you back to Norman.
Okay, thank you, Zoe. A summary of the main features. PCF output file is part of the ShipConstructor project, as Zoe highlighted, depending on how the file is stored or what process it's linked to the model. Associatively linked with 3D models, so updates do update the PCF files within the system. Multiple options for generating PCF files and splitting the piping system into segments. Pretty standard stuff. Standard piping components and end treatments have predefined PCF codes in a pipes.catalog. Depending on how you use them, you may want to adjust those S keys, as Zoe also demonstrated. For piping parts creation as custom equipment, users can choose which PCF codes to assign to them, as she demonstrated. Finally, accessory packages and pipe connection types have associated PCF codes that can be modified by the user. So we tried to create a fair amount of flexibility in this product, understanding that in the real world the application of using PCF does require that kind of flexibility. In terms of product availability, PipeLink has been available since ShipConstructor 2014 and up. You saw today it was actually demonstrated up to 2015 R2, latest version, although there's not much difference between the 2014 and the 15 R2. In terms of its availability within suites, it's available in the Outfitting Suite, the Premium Edition, and the ShipConstructor Suite Ultimate Edition, or separately in the Standard, Premium, and Ultimate, depending on the parts there. It does require a pipe license. So key takeaways: PipeLink empowers ShipConstructor users by opening access to leading software solutions for processing information, generating production documentation. PipeLink makes it possible to deliver piping information to consumers outside of the marine information model environment, which is its main objective. It's not just for isogen, it's not just for pipe bending as well, it's for all of these things. That actually concludes our PipeLink demonstration. Just give you a heads up for our next technical webinar. It'll be P&ID design validation, February 25th. 8 till 9:30. We'll need a little bit more time to provide that demonstration. They will be posting the registration information on Nexus CC bulletins, as well as that information will be posted on our website and available as well in email distribution to our newsletter. If you think of any questions later, please feel free to contact us. You can either, if you want a public discussion about PipeLink or PCF in general, please point you to the Augie Marine Forum. I encourage you to check it out even if you don't have questions. It's definitely was launched last year, and the subscribership to it has been growing nicely. If you're a ShipConstructor subscriber, please feel free to use Nexus for a private conversation. Okay, I guess we'll conclude it there. Again, if you have further questions, feel free to contact us. Also available, if you prefer email, you can send it to product.management@ssi-corporate.com. That will come to myself and my PM team. Okay, thank you, everyone.